Welcome to Patriot Prepper, where we just don't talk about survival, we live it. In a world that's becoming more unstable by the day, whether it's cyber attacks, power grid failures, civil unrest, or natural disasters, the question isn't if something will happen, it's when. You see, the truth is, most people will not be ready when disaster strikes, but you don't have to be one of them. Here at Patriot Prepper, I break down skills, strategies, and the gear that you need to keep yourself and your family safe, no matter what happens. We cover everything from building the ultimate get home bag to mastering situational awareness to surviving worst case scenarios. So if you're serious about being prepared and you want real world survival strategies without all the fluff, then hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notification because the world we're living in today, being unprepared is not an option. Imagine this. The world that you know just shut down. No power, no cell service, no transportation, and you're miles, even maybe hundreds of miles away from home. And now you have one mission: to get home alive. Do you have a plan? Or are you just carrying a bag full of shit, random gear, hoping for the best? Because what I'm going to tell you, most people don't think about this scenario. You know, they think that their car will work, that their phone will have service, and that help is just a phone call away. But what if none of this is true? Would you be able to survive the journey home? Now, before I go any further, I want to let you know that this video is going to be for a long-range get-home bag. For the people who might travel 100 miles or more from home, like maybe truck drivers, or even myself that work offshore. But one of the good things about building a long-range get-home bag is that it could also take the place of your bug-out bag. So now you only have one primary bag that does it all. Because I'm talking about building a bag that is built for worst case scenario. But we'll get into that more later. If you want to survive, you need to plan before you pack. Because a long-range get-home bag isn't just a bunch of survival gear thrown into a backpack. It's about strategy. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to plan the ultimate long-range get-home bag from the ground up. Welcome to part one of this two-part series. Let's get started. So before we actually start buying gear, you need to ask yourself, what am I planning for? A long-range get-home bag isn't a generic bug-out bag. It's designed for one purpose and one purpose only: getting you from where you're at to where you need to be. Usually it's home or a secure location. Here's why planning is so critical. If you don't plan, you'll end up wasting money on useless gear that you're not going to use. If you don't plan, you'll carry either too much or too little gear. And then also, if you don't plan, you might have the right gear, but not the right strategy to survive. A long-range get-home bag means you could be covering 100 miles to several hundred miles. So every ounce matters. Every piece of gear is critical, and every decision that you make counts. This bag is going to be a beast, but this bag will also keep you alive. So let's break it down. A long-range get-home bag is not one size fits all. Your needs will vary depending on several key factors. Distance. So how far do you have to travel? Is it short range, say under 20 miles? If that's the case, mainly you just need very minimal gear, small bag, think faster movement. So then medium range, we're talking 20 to maybe 50 miles. You're going to need more food, more water. Probably shelter options are needed. And then the long range, kind of like this baby right here. So 50 to 100 plus miles. Serious endurance is going to be needed, okay? It may require caching supplies, alternative routes, bigger bags, more supplies. Next, we need to consider the terrain. What's between you and home? Are we talking urban, right? An urban setting, now you're talking you might need some stealth gear. Think gray man, right? Alternative transportation. Is a vehicle still working? Can we snag a bike? What is it? Then you have suburban. That's kind of a mix of stealth and then open travel modes, which the way I plan my bag is worst case scenario, vehicles not working. So pretty much you'll be hoofing it unless you can find a bicycle, dirt bike, something like that. And then there's rural or country, right? This is where you're going to need navigational skills. You have to be building shelters. You're going to have to find food. You have to find water. Next, I like to talk about threats. So what are you up against? What happened? Is it maybe civil unrest? So at that time, we need to avoid people. That's where we talk about that gray man gear, right? Maybe some self-defense gear, some people stoppers. Some other threats could be extreme weather. So clothing layers, waterproofing. Is it, heat or cold survival? Is it summertime or winter? Law enforcement or martial law. So legal considerations, maybe low profile travel. You definitely want to stay away from people. We'll get into that more later. Wildlife. Are we talking bear spray? Are we in bear country? Not. You need knowledge of the regional dangers, right? So if you're not in your town, your city, maybe not even in your state, there's different dangers out there. Snakes, spiders, bears, sharks, alligators. I know you're saying, what the hell, sharks? Yes. So some people might have to travel in the oceans or the Gulf of America, like myself. So this all need to be put into the planning stage. Again, we want to prepare for the worst, meaning all of it, right? I hate to say this, but 99% of the time, the threat's going to be other people. So now we need to take in account a time frame. So how long will it take? Now, I don't personally know how far y'all have to travel. Me, on land, it's going to be about 200, maybe a little over 200 miles. That's once I get to land. I still got 150 miles of ocean or the Gulf of America I have to get through also. But time frame. So is it going to take you 12, 24 hours? I said, so minimal supplies, speed is the key. Now, are we talking a little bit longer? 2 to 5 days. Now you're looking at, you're going to need more food, shelter, and endurance is going to be a big consideration. You need to know and think about how much weight you're going to be packing. And then 1 week plus. All right. So this is the long range. We're talking 1 week and over. This is like full survival mode. All right. You may have to resupply your bag, rely on maybe some caches, right, that we've maybe pre-buried beforehand. Then we need to consider your personal ability, right, and fitness. Are you physically capable of carrying a heavy load, long distances? Have you trained for long treks or walks? What about the heat or the cold? Do you have a medical condition that requires maybe special gear? See, this is why planning matters. So I get it. If you're in your 20s, fit and experienced, you could probably carry a lot more and travel a lot faster. If you're older or have health conditions, you'll need smarter loadouts and better planning. Once you understand your unique needs, then it's time to start preparing. But again, before you start buying gear, let's talk about some key elements of preparation. One is going to be route planning. Primary route. That's going to be your fastest, safest route home. Then your secondary route, in case your primary is unattainable or you can't go that way, you need a secondary route. This is going to be your alternative if the primary is blocked, okay? Off-grid route, right? This is probably going to be the last resort. Avoids people. You want to avoid all types of threats. And remember, so water sources and supply caches, pre-planned rest stops. You'll need to know these in advance. And then again, so a SHT event might dictate when, where, or even how you travel. Just remember that. So supply caching. So we talked about it earlier. Stashing supplies along your planned route, one, not only ensures you have food, extra ammo, clothing, stuff like that, but also it lightens your load. Locations should be hidden but accessible. And like I said, this is good for food, water, medical, ammunition. All right, so we talked about it earlier, but so fitness, this is a very important subject. So fitness training and dry runs, okay? You want to test your endurance, should I say. All right, underweight, under your bag, okay? The stuff that you plan on carrying, meaning take your bag and go on a hike. Maybe time yourself. Also, you want to run the routes ahead of time. I'm not talking about physically running, but drive. This is a great time to learn maybe alternative routes, okay? Maybe see where a good stash point would be. Also, break in your boots. Blisters can cripple you, believe me. And I'm not talking, you don't have to wear boots. It's just, you definitely don't want to go through a SHTF event with flip-flops or fucking Crocs on, okay? Get you a good pair of boots, military boots, hiking boots, even some good tennis shoes, right? Especially, I mean, if it's going to be only a day travel, some good tennis shoes might work. But you definitely don't want Crocs, high heels, stuff like that. Next, we need to talk about communication plan. So how will you communicate with your family? PACE, primary, alternative, contingency, emergency. Then, when will you try to make contact with your family? So I like to use the 3-3-3 rule, right? It's something easy, simple. It's very easy to remember. Turn on your radio every 3 hours for 3 minutes on channel 3. And you could change it up however you want. It's whatever is easier for you to remember. Okay? Excuse me. All right. The final part of planning, again, isn't gear. It's your mindset. You need to be ready for the mental and emotional toll of a long range get home scenario, right? So you want to stay hidden and avoid conflict. Maybe move at night if necessary. Blend in. You do not want to look tactical, okay? And then also avoid major roads and checkpoints if that's happening. Psychological endurance. A lot of people don't talk about this, but you're going to be exhausted. So plan for it now. You might have to make hard choices, right? Steal or starve, fight or flee. stuff like that. Practice mental resilience now. So how I like to break it down is reverse planning. All right. This is how I know what kind of shit I'm going to put in my bag. Reverse planning, it's also sometimes referred to as backwards planning or a backward design. They use it a lot in the military, but in prepping, you could also use it. Reverse planning means you start with the end goal first. Like, I want our family at our bug out location within 48 hours of a grid down scenario. Then you just work it backwards, step by step, to figure out what actions need to happen first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So, in simple terms, it's where do I want to end up? Then next would be what has to happen right before that? And then what has to happen? I can't talk. Then what has to happen before that? All the way back to your starting point today or the day that you make this plan. So why I like to do it like this and why I think it's awesome for to do this in prepping and planning is it makes you think through real obstacles you're going to face. It makes sure nothing critical is missed because you're thinking on how do I make this happen instead of what just sounds good, if that makes sense. It's tactical, organized in a way to make complicated survival plans realistic and doable. So the first question you need to ask is, where do I need to end up? Is it home? Is it a bug out location? Is it Uncle Fred's ranch? Visualize it. You're out in the world, maybe at work, school, or even stuck in traffic, and then boom, disaster hits. Whether it be an EMP, cyber attack, civil unrest, you name it. But your goal is simple. Get home alive. Get with your family. Keep them safe. Now ask yourself, when you reach your destination, what shape are you in? Are you exhausted but safe? Are you still all geared up and ready for trouble? Are you in bad shape, injured, and ill? See, reverse planning makes you pack today for the conditions you want to arrive in then. Hopefully that makes sense. So imagine the trip in reverse. What are the last things you'll need before you step onto your porch or your meetup location? Some examples might be navigational tools, right? Map, compass, GPS. You might need stealth supplies, right? Slip past those checkpoints or looters. You might need energy boosters, right? Snacks, some electrolytes, caffeine tabs, or some coffee for that final last push, right? What about some comms? A radio to call your family, let them know you're coming home or when you're close. Now you rewind that even further. What about when you're 10 miles out, 20 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles out? What if you're sleeping overnight in a hostile area? What if you're crossing dangerous grounds, stealth cooking, obtaining water and filtering? Each stage needs specific gear, and you pack for those stages, just in reverse order. So the next step would be identifying key threats at each stage. Reality check, my friends. You are not hiking down a nature trail here. You are moving through a broken world. Think threats like crowds, panic mobs. What do you need for that? I need stealth and alternative routes. So there's no food sources. What do you need? I need calories. This is food and calories that you're carrying on you already. I'm possibly going to be in bad weather, right? weather exposure. I need shelter, some dry clothes. I might get injured. I need a fast acting trauma kit, right? An IFAC, maybe a boo-boo kit. For every threat you may face, your bag needs countermeasures. No fluff, no maybe I'll use this someday bullshit. Just the shit that you need. You want to match the gear to your mission, not fantasy. And this is one of the biggest traps people fall in. They build their bag like it's a camping trip, not a survival mission. You don't need a folding chair, 6 coffee mugs, and a Dutch oven out there. You need what's going to keep you breathing, moving, and hidden. If you do that, you'll be good. What you need to remember, your get home bag isn't about what you want to carry. It's about what you have to carry. Remember, every pound is your enemy when you're hoofing it 30, 50, 100, 200 miles. Also, you have to remember, your needs is going to be different than my needs. So your bag should reflect that. So I hope I covered that reverse planning pretty good. A quick recap of that. Just define your destination. Where are you going to be going? Picture your arrival condition. And then work backwards from there at each stage of that journey. Identify threats along the way. Pack gear that fits that mission. Remember, no fantasy camping, okay? Well, guys, this was just phase 1, the planning phase. Now that you know how to strategize for a long-range get-home scenario, in the next episode, we'll actually be breaking down the gear itself. What goes in a bag? What gets left behind? How do you pack for efficiency? We'll cover every single item that I carry in detail. So please hit that subscribe button and get ready for part 2. Thank y'all for watching, and please subscribe, turn on your notifications. Remember, those who prepare today survive tomorrow. Thank y'all. Patriot Prepper out.